Welcome back, everybody. Well, today I am working on putting conduit in for my water lines, which will run underneath my slab. I know they put water lines under concrete all the time with no, not in conduit, they wrap them. But for some reason, I just can't get comfortable with that. So I'm gonna spend the extra money and time to put conduit in. So I'm gonna use 1.5" Schedule 40 PVC, and I'm actually gonna put one piece of conduit in for one water line. That way I can pull a 3/4 inch line through, and if I ever have a problem with it, I can pull it out. So I will have no connections underneath my concrete anywhere. If I'm looping a system, then it'll stub up, and then it'll loop, and then it'll stub back down. So that way on my water heater, this slab is 56 feet wide and 42 foot deep. So trying to locate a water heater in a central location to where it doesn't take, a minute to get hot water to it, I'm gonna have to circulate that water, unless I want to put 2 water heaters in, and then that just brings on more talk. So basically what I will do is I circulate my water, hot water, in a loop. My conduit will step up, I will loop, catch the fixture, loop back down, catch the next fixture up and down till I circulate it all the way back to the water heater. So that's what I'm working on. Let's try to get some pipe in the ground. One thing I did when I was laying out all my drain lines for, like, this will catch a bathroom vanity and it'll come up in the exterior wall. One thing that always irks me is when you got a stud that'll land right where a drain pipe goes. So what I will do is, on my plans I've indicated, I've started 16 inches on center from this corner. It'll work all the way down, and then 16 inches on center this way. That way, all these drain lines, if you'll notice, there'll be a stud here and there'll be a stud here. So my pipe, my drain line, will come up in between my studs. And I did the same thing for that vanity down there. But where I'm gonna stub my cold and hot water up, I'm gonna step out here and get me a mark, and then I'll bring those 2 lines in here, and then I can feed this vanity, and then I can loop it around here and catch these tubs and showers, get that vanity, then it'll go back under the concrete, go over and catch the kitchen, and so on. So takes a little more adding and figuring, but you want to have a stud sitting right here on top of your vent pipe or your drain pipe when you frame it, if you'll do a little bit of math. Now here's the dilemma I run into with laying out pipes in a slab. I mean, you don't have much room for error when you're trying to hit a 3.5 inch wall, 30 foot out in the space. I mean, it's a crapshoot. So basically what I did when we laid out all the drains in here is I just pulled a 100-foot tape down the left-hand side, and I pulled the tape down the front wall, and I basically took my plans and scaled them out, and I had the measurements for all these locations in this slab. And so basically I was able to reference off, if something was 19 feet off the front wall, I could come over to my 19-foot measurement and then measure over and catch how far it is off the left wall. But then I'd come to the front and measure it back, so that way we had that quadrant square. Now if your form's not square, you're in a mess. So anyway, it's just tricky. I've not done it much before, but I looked on the internet and tried to find a simple way to do this. But most people pull strings off of a common wall going through a house, or they're measuring off of this or that. But I've been thinking about that, and I think I got an easier way, and I'll show you what it is here in a minute. 27 more locations to pop up through the floor, and we'll have it done. All right, so here's how I broke down my plumbing in this house and where everything's gonna come up through the slab. So basically I named every fixture and whether it needed a drain line, a water line, whatever it may be. So I took my plan, which has measurements on it, and then I took the scale, which was 1/4 inch equals every foot. So I've located the center of the pipe. So I had toilet 1 in the master bath, basically come out to 11 foot 3 inches off the front, and then 18 inches off the left side. So I ran a tape along the top of my form, that way I could reference where it needed to be within the slab, and then on the left hand side I did the same thing, run a tape from one end to the other. So the issue you run into with though is, let's just take this first one, is 11 foot 3 inches from the front and then 18 inches off the left. Well, if I come out here and don't measure 18 inches out, and let's just say I put my tape in there at 8 inches, and then I measure out here, well, on this one, it ain't gonna make that big of a difference. But if you get out here in the middle of the floor and you're not measuring square, corner to corner, then your measurements could get off. So we'd have to come out and reference 11 foot 3, and then we'd have to come back here at 18 inches, and then we'd pull a tape from there, pull it out here, and then pull one from here, and then we'd try to find the center of this pipe and locate it. Well, when it's close to the wall, it's not that big of a deal, but when you get to one sitting out in the middle of the floor like the island drain, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. And if you're by yourself, well, you can do it, but it becomes very challenging. So here's what I come up with. Now, I don't do this every day, it's just once on occasion, but if I were gonna do it every day, I think I'd try this and see if it speeded things up. But I'm gonna move the tractor out of the way here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here's what I had to do. Let's just say we wanted to get to the island drain. I had to measure from the front wall and from the left wall over, because I like to keep a constant measuring point. So if you measure from here out and over and then back here and back, so I like to stay on this front wall and left wall every time. That way at least it's constant and I've got the same point that I'm coming off of. So I took extra effort to get this thing square, that way I had an accurate wall to measure off of. But so I had to measure from here to here, from here to here, and then when I come out here to find that distance, I got to make sure I'm measuring from the correct distance here and the correct distance here, so I've got a square corner when I find the location of this pipe. But if you've got your building or whatever it is, this is a square box, so it's a little easier. But this wouldn't matter if, let's just say we had a wing coming off to the side and it went back. As long as we had a reference point to measure off of per our plans, then we can find a location anywhere. So let's just say we call the front left corner reference A, the front right corner reference B, and then we're going to take, let's just say we needed something way over here. Well, we pull off a reference B over to this point, we pull from reference A over to this point, and wherever those two intersect would be the location of that pipe. So with technology the way it is, shouldn't be a problem for whoever's drawing your house plans. If they know the location of where those drains are going to come up, let's just say it's right here, all they got to do in their computer software is drag a line from there to there, drag a line from here to here, and they'll give you that intersecting mark, and then you can lay this thing out a whole lot easier, I would think. Like I say, it wouldn't matter if it's a square box, it could have all angles, it could be a mile away, but as long as you had the 2 points and where you're starting from, you could locate that pipe. So I'm gonna screw 2 screws in the front corner of my forms, and we'll see how easy it would be to locate a pipe out here. Well, some will probably ask, well, Travis, why didn't you use this method? Well, originally I drew a house and had a local guy draw my plans for me. I think I spent about $3,000 getting a set of plans drawn, and it took about 7 months to get them. Well, We ended up changing the house plan, and then I drew this plan. Well, I said, I'm not gonna spend another $3,000 on another set of plans and then wait another 7 months. So I went on a website called Fiverr, and I'll try to put the website down here on the screen. But you can, they've got any kind of service pretty much you want. Legal services, drafting. If you want to have somebody draw you a plan for a deck, you can go on there and send them a sketch, tell them what you want, and they can draw it. But they call them creators, or I can't remember the term they use, but you go out and basically you can search for deck plans, and it'll be a bunch of providers on there that'll do that work for you, and it's got a price on what they'll do for that number. But I had this whole set of plans drawn and had them back in 7 days for, I think, 600 bucks. So this guy's in a foreign country, and so the only negative to doing that is for me to go back and say, here's the location of all my pipes. You know, he's a long ways away and a language barrier, and so for me to tell him the location of really where I wanted everything, and us to be able to get together and him come back with me some diagonal measurements would have been a little bit of a challenge. And I didn't want to trust a 1/4 inch to a foot scale, me trying to break it down. If it was, you know, 11 foot 3.5 inches, I didn't want to trust my scale trying to figure out and make sure I hit that wall. So I just did it the traditional way. But I'm gonna come off of point A and point B, and we're gonna see if we can locate a center of a pipe and see how quick we can do it. All right, for a simple example, let's just say off of the front left corner being A was 36 feet, front right corner B would be 32. That would be the diagonal measurements to where those two distances will cross, and that'll locate the center of, let's just say, an imaginary pipe that we'd be putting in the ground. All right, once we got our measuring tapes attached on point A and point B, I think I said A was 36 and B was 32. So all we've got to do is line up 36 and 32. We pull them taut, and wherever that intersecting mark is would be the center of my drain line, which I could take a piece of rebar, whatever it may be, and I could pin that. And even if you were in a deep ditch to where, you know, you can't take this down and get it out of plumb, you want to be pretty much level to top your forms, you could take a longer rod, run it down and plumb that, and get it plumb rather, and you could locate even the center of a drain down in a 4-foot ditch if you wanted to. But anyway, it just seems like to me that would be a whole lot easier way to locate plumbing in a slab. As long as you've got your forms built square, which they've got to be square whether you're doing it this way or doing it the other way. You know, your pipes won't hit your walls either. So anyway, I just think it would work. And if I wanted to put a pipe over here, and let's say it was 38 and 32, I move it to here, and there's the location of that one. But I think I could take this measurement system and probably lay this house out in about 30 minutes probably. So I think it'd save you a lot of time and a lot of stress. And anyway, I've been dreading putting these pipes in the ground for a long time, but I think that would be an easier way. Back to putting conduit in the ground. Well, it's the next day, and I've got all my conduit ran for my water line spread throughout the slab. I like just a couple more. There'll be a water line come up in behind the stove and then over to the washing machine. But if I stub those up now, it'll be in the way of the tractor getting in and out of here to spread stone on all of it. So I'm gonna pause on the conduit running, fill this section up with gravel, and then we'll continue on and then work our way back out to the garage. Well, everybody say a prayer for me that I don't run over these pipes in here sticking up everywhere, but on my luck I probably will. But anyway, if you watch this one, I appreciate it. Hey, we'll catch you later.